How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I am delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you wish to be on the program, as always, if you text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the podcast, the live stream, you can get the social media links. But this is the most important thing of all. For those of you not on the list, you need to text the word recipe, singular, not plural, recipe, no S on the end, recipe, to 33777. Why? Because later this week, I will be sending out my guide to Thanksgiving. As those of you who are longtime listeners know, I am world-renowned for a gravy recipe. It is a never-fail, flawless gravy recipe that my listeners have been making for the last 12, 13 years, and it has become a Thanksgiving tradition for a large number of members of this audience because it's so foolproof and it's so delicious. And I send those recipes out. All you have to do is text recipe to 33777. They'll come out later this week, including my guide if you're having friends over, how I do my turkey, how I turn turkey into gumbo, how I make breakfast for all the friends and family who are coming. I take care of all of it, all your needs. Now, we have to begin with the news of the day. And you know, I got to go back because this is an old story. It's an old talking point. Let me see if I can find this particular. Do I have the video of this lady? Maybe I don't. Several weeks ago now, Catherine Rampell was on CNN. She's an economist for the Washington Post, and she was essentially saying, if we do mass deportations in this country, well, people are going to starve to death. If we do mass deportations in the country, people are going to starve because who's going to take care of grandma? Who's going to pick the crops? And then yesterday, Matt Egan was on CNN. Matt Egan is a business reporter for CNN, very smugly talking about Donald Trump. And they used the phrase that annoys me, undocumented immigrants. And yet these people are documented, but they can't bring themselves to say illegal because they would be imputing a crime to them, which they have committed. And by the way, I don't know if you know, the trial is going on now for the Lake and Riley murder in Georgia. The trial is ongoing. And it turns out the murderer, the illegal alien, is a member of that Venezuelan gang. That gang. Now, this is Matt Egan on CNN.
Cut another Trump campaign promise, which is to get inflation under control. Now, the big economic problem here is that we're talking about industries that are heavily reliant on foreign workers. Many of them are undocumented. And so when you have fewer workers, it means less food and, yes, higher prices. Let me just show you one example. If you look at farm crop workers, a plurality of people in that industry, 41%, are unauthorized. That's according to the USDA. One farmer in Michigan told me that mass deportations would be, quote, devastating to the ag economy because there just would not be enough people to pick the crops. But it's not just about farmers. If you look across the food supply chain, there are many different parts of this that rely on tens or even hundreds of thousands of undocumented workers, everything from food processing to groceries and, of course, restaurants. Altogether, an estimated 1.7 million people who work in this space are undocumented. Now, we've reached out to the Trump transition. They have not gotten back to us, but in the past, they've argued that Trump's campaign proposals would not make inflation worse. But I've got to tell you, economists that I'm talking to, they're saying the exact opposite, Dan.
Are these the same Nobel Prize winning economists who assured us Kamala Harris's plan would benefit the economy, or are these the people who believe that Hunter Biden's laptop was fake? Let me give you the numbers. According to Matt Egan at CNN, there are 296,300 illegal aliens in the farm community. There are 205,800 in food production. There are 74,900 in food-related wholesale. There are 154,000 in grocery and convenience stores. There are 832,900 in restaurants and 90,100 in other positions within the food supply chain for 1.7 million illegal aliens. They call them undocumented, but this is pretty good documentation. How can they be undocumented if you know that? How can you be undocumented if you know that? Now, I'm a little curious as well. Where is this from? Center for American, where is that? It doesn't say. Is it a left-wing group? Let's see. I'm going to put in the numbers here. Farming. There. Hang on. Just go along with me here. Work with me on this one. This is, yes, I'm doing a wild card on the fly right here. Deeply unprofessional. I realize. But I want to see some. I'm deeply curious as to where the data comes from here. 296,300. So 296,300 farming undocumented. Whoa! Look at that! Look at that! Wow! Yes, that's what I thought. Look at CNN's Matt Egan. He's using data from the left-wing Center for American Progress. Wow. So, wait, this is some level of coordination, right? Nicole Svajlenka at the Center for American Progress is what? A progressive writer. And so CNN is using a senior fellow of the Center for American Progress, a left-wing think tank, to make the case. And they don't even identify it. In fact, they cover up the chyron at CNN so you can't see that it's from the Center for American Progress. Unbelievable. But it's true. Now, Scott Jennings was on CNN with Jake Tapper bringing this up.
It's not about ratings.
I'm amazed. I did not expect Hitler to get so many meeting requests. First from Joe Biden, now from Mika and Joe. It's amazing that literal Hitler is getting all these meeting requests.
Wrong clip from Scott, but here's the one.
Sheet of music today that this is going to mess up the agriculture industry and drive the grocery prices high. I've seen numerous pieces on it. I've seen everybody seems to be out there talking about it. And so it strikes me, Jake, that Democrats, this is their new line of attack, that Donald Trump's got a plan to raise your grocery prices simply by following through on his campaign promises. And I just don't think it's true.
Yeah, okay. This really is the Democrats coordinated talking about, and CNN is proving it. They covered up that it was from Center for American Progress, but that's where their data is coming from to peddle this story. It's from a left-wing think tank, and they've been quoting this from left-wing people for quite a while now. But what are they actually going to do? Tom Homan was on with Lawrence Jones on Fox and Friends this morning talking about exactly the plan.
Let's break down this because, you see all these media experts saying that Abuela is going to be deported. I think you have two priorities, right? First, you got to get the criminal element, which everyone agrees with. And then number two, you go straight for those 8 million people that have been coming across the border under Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, we got three rails of business, Lawrence. First of all, we got to secure the border. We know how to do that. We've done it before. Second of all, we need to run this deportation operations. The president's been clear. Out of the gate, we're going to focus on public safety threats and national security threats first. And fugitives, those who cross the border illegally, had great due process at great taxpayer expense, were ordered removed by an immigration judge and didn't leave. They're also a priority. And third rail, we got to find over 300,000 children that were released into this country to so-called sponsors that the government can't find. We also got to find them children and try to save them.
So wait a second. So wait. So I just heard on CNN that they're going to round up all the people picking the cotton for the Democrats. And on Fox News, they interview the actual man in charge of deportations, and he says, we're going after the people already ordered to leave who have it. We're going after the gangbangers, criminals, and drug traffickers, and we're going to find the missing children. The missing children, the media is too distracted by migrant workers to focus on. Fascinating dichotomy there, is it not? When you actually talk to the person who's in charge and he says, we're not going after grandma. We're going after the people who are criminals, the people who are gangbangers. And by the way, I don't have a problem going after grandma if she came over here in the last couple of years. If grandma's been here for 40 years and her only law-breaking effort was coming into this country illegally, I say we can put her down to the bottom. We don't necessarily need to go after grandma who's been here for 40 years, not bothering anybody. But does anybody really dispute the need to go after the illegals? Go after the criminals? It's fascinating to me that this is where we are. It's fascinating to me that we're in this level of denial about the mass number of criminals in this country who we're supposed to just let them stay. Why are we supposed to let them stay? Why are we supposed to let these people just hang around? And we can't get that out of here. And it's very clearly a coordinated talking point. And it really is essentially an admission of a double standard. This, again, this is the conversation on, I was stumbling a little bit with my words because I was trying to find this clip because you need to hear it. This is Catherine Rampell. She's an economist with the Washington Post and a CNN contributor, and she engaged in this with Scott Jennings. This was October 17th.
And he's going to take on these countries that screw American workers. That's the plan. And by the way, he's going to crack down on immigration to the benefit of American workers.
He's going to deport 20 million people, the people who pick your crops, the people who process your meat, the people who, care for your grandmother, the people who serve all sorts of critical functions in this country. Yeah, he's going to.
You got that? He's going to deport the people who pick your crops. It's gross that the Democrats are so willing to embrace this talking point that we need this underclass of serfs in this country to pick our cotton since we freed the slaves. And that is the Democrats' argument. You can hear it in their talking, in their snideness about this. How do we know what's going to happen? And by the way, let's say it does happen. Still the right thing to do. They defied our laws, came across our borders illegally. They should be rounded up. They should be sent home. And then you know what? We can structure a program to allow them to come in and pick our crops and go home. We used to have such a program. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you'd like to be on the program, I would like to go to Dayton, Ohio, and take Carrie's phone call. Carrie, welcome.
Hi, I'm excited and thrilled to talk to you.
Thanks so much.
About rounding up all the illegals, arms and things. You know, the first people to go are.
Yeah, Carrie, your phone call is breaking up on me.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right, you sound a little better there.
Okay. Well, like I said, the concern is point.
No, we lost you. I'm sorry, but I get your. I think I got your point, Carrie. I'm sorry about your phone connection. The people who are going to be rounded up and go are the ones that everyone should agree on. Everybody should agree on that. This is a fear scenario, it seems like, from the Democrats trying to scare everybody when the reality is we know who they're going after first. And what CNN is doing is going to, we're going to have this nightmare scenario in the economy. We're going to have this nightmare scenario with the with agriculture when that's not who they're going after first. In fact, I suspect what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to wind up self-deportation. So a thing the Democrats used to brag about, their policies could cause self-deportation. They were fine with that. And now, of course, if these people leave, they're like, oh, my gosh, we can't have that. Who's going to take care of our grandmothers in nursing homes? Because you apparently don't want to take care of them. It's remarkable that this is where we are with Democratic talking points these days, and that CNN would allow Matt Egan, a supposed business reporter, to peddle the talking points from Center for American Progress and then claim the economists he's talked to have said Trump's going to cause inflation. That now begs the question, which economists are you talking to, Matt? Are you talking to the ones at Center for American Progress, a left-wing think tank? Is that who you're talking to get your talk? That's who you got this chart from, and you didn't disclose it as from a left-leaning organization. This is why people don't trust the press, Matt. Now, you can trust Americans for Progress. They are the largest leading grassroots group in the entire Center for Americans for Prosperity is who I'm talking about. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Yes, Americans for Prosperity. They're the largest leading grassroots group in the entire country, and they're on the right. They advocate common sense conservative reforms in this country. They'd love to have you on board. They actually mobilized millions of voters nationwide to participate in our democratic processes, not millions total like across the country, but millions per state. So millions and millions nationwide, tens of millions. They had knocked on millions of doors in Georgia, millions of doors in North Carolina, millions of doors in Pennsylvania, and they mobilize voters to participate in the process. And they educate voters on common sense conservative solutions like school choice, support for families, tax reform for small businesses. All you got to do is go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Sign up today. Tell them I sent you. I'm going to be doing an event for them in a couple of weeks. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Be a more effective conservative activist with Americans for Prosperity. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson. Glad to have you with me. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. John, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi there, John.
How are you?
I'm good. What's going on?
Well, I've been listening to your show, and I like what I hear. And I guess I agree with you in most of what you're saying, or pretty much all of it. When it comes to the media and all the talking points being the same on the propaganda media, I think that should be a person's first hint that they're getting lied to. When it comes to the deportations, yeah, you know, the people that are going to get deported first and should be are the ones that came across the border under Biden. Most of those people I don't believe are actually working anyway. I think that they're getting a lot of freebies from the various cities that they're in, and that doesn't give them much motivation to go look for work. As far as people that have been here for years, I know personally a lot of Central and South Americans and Mexicans that aren't here legally, and I know some that were born in another country 30 years ago and didn't even live there, but their parents were here legally, so they're still not legal here.
Yeah.
Or they're still not citizens, but they're not here illegally. Those are the kind of people that are working or doing something and should be allowed to stay. I agree with that.
Yeah, look, my view, John, is pretty straightforward. Yeah, let's start with all the people who flooded the border when Joe Biden became president of the United States and allowed them to come in. And if we have to prioritize those, go for the criminals, go for the gangbangers, go for the people who have already been ordered to be deported but are on the run from the deportation authorities. Start there. And then let's work our way down in priority. I know a guy has a housekeeper. His housekeeper is an illegal alien. I've told this story before. The housekeeper came here as a child with her parents. The housekeeper doesn't even drive. Why? Doesn't want a fake ID. Can't get a driver's license in the state of Georgia. She doesn't drive. She pays taxes. She pays her withholding taxes. They withhold everything on her salary. She pays her income taxes. She has a tax ID number to make it all happen. She doesn't leave the country, hasn't been back to Mexico, doesn't want to try to get back into the country, doesn't want to break the law again, so she's here. And she happens to work for very good, kind people who treat her like family. And her family's here. And I don't know that we need to go send in the Border Patrol to round up a woman who won't even get a driver's license because she doesn't want to break the law, who came here as a child and is treated wonderfully by this family, is part of the family. Why? But we got a guy over in Athens, Georgia, who's on trial for murdering a girl who never should have been here, and it's time to find people like that and either throw them in prison or throw them out of the country. We don't have to go straight to grandma. But if you listen to the conversations on CNN or on MSNBC, or you read the New York Times, the Washington Post, that's exactly where they go first. Grandma. Why? Because they're trying to scare you. They're trying to scare everybody. They're trying to scare everybody about the topic. They're using the left-wing Center for American Progress talking points to scare you about the economic calamity. They're using other left-wing activists to scare you about, someone's grandmother is going to be thrown out of the country, and all she did was she came here 40 years ago. That's, if you listen to Tom Homan, if you listen to Donald Trump, they're not talking about that. They're not talking about that. It's absolutely mesmerizing to see this level of bias in the press when it comes to covering this issue, and they wonder why we distrust them so much. Now, before I get back to calls on this, I got to move to a more pressing matter, and that is Matt Gaetz. A hacker has apparently gotten a hold of some of the documents related to his House Ethics Committee investigation. The New York Times is reporting. But not only that, I have been talking myself to members of the Senate. And I am left with the reliable impression from members of the United States Senate on the Republican side, Matt Gaetz doesn't have the votes. There are, all told, at least 12 members of the Republican Party in the United States Senate who do not want Matt Gaetz. There are at least 5 who are willing to publicly vote against him, and they don't care about the consequences because they don't believe that Donald Trump can hurt them, and they are not threatened by concern for primaries. In fact, the people most likely to vote for him are either on their way out or have 6 years, so you don't have to worry about it. I would be interested to see where Dave McCormick comes down on this. He's going to want to put some distance between him and Trump in Pennsylvania, show he's an independent streak. I don't want to put him on the spot, but it'll be interesting to see where he comes down on this when he gets in the Senate, and he is going to get in the Senate. The president has said he wants to explore a recess appointment. Here's a problem. Now, I realize, look, I was a lawyer. I understand. You get a bunch of lawyers in a room, you can get a bunch of different legal opinions. But I'm going to go with Antonin Scalia. There was a case from 2014, National Labor Relations Board versus Noel Canning. You'll remember the details of this case. In 2013, the Senate went into recess for about 7 days, and Barack Obama put people on the National Labor Relations Board. The Senate argued it was not actually in recess. It hadn't been out for more than 10 days. Barack Obama said it didn't matter. They were gone for more than 3 days. He could pack the court. The Supreme Court unanimously agreed that if the House or Senate is gone for less than 10 days, the president can't appoint anyone as a recess appointment. Under the Constitution allows the president to make appointments during recess. Antonin Scalia agreed with the outcome but said the reasoning was bad. I want to read for you some of what Antonin Scalia wrote. He wrote, and you got to understand, there's intra and inter sessions. Intra-session recesses are when the Senate is gone, but the same Senate's coming back. Inter recesses are when the Senate is gone, and there's a gap between that and a new Senate coming in. He said, to prevent the president's recess appointment power from nullifying the Senate's role in the appointment process, the Constitution cabins that power in two specific ways. First, it may be exercised only in the recess of the Senate, that is, the intermission between two formal legislative sessions. Second, it may be used to fill only those vacancies that happen during the recess, that is, offices that become vacant during that intermission. Both conditions are clear from the Constitution's text and structure, and both were well understood at the founding. The court's decision transforms the recess appointment power from a tool carefully designed to fill a narrow and specific need into a weapon to be wielded by future presidents against future senates. But wait, you say, this has happened before. Yes, in fact, George W. Bush alone had 171 recess appointments, according to the Congressional Research Service. 165 of the 171 recess appointments were also nominees for the position. And 162 of the 165 had already been nominated and were pending in the Senate. And at the time, George Bush had a Republican Senate and a Republican House, and they agreed to go in recess because the filibuster hadn't gone away yet. And so they agreed to go into recess so that Bush could fill these positions, and the recess lasted more than 10 days. And the Obama administration argued that because Bush did this and Congress let him do this, that presidents can appoint people even though the position was vacant when the Senate was in session. Not what Scalia said is that the Senate, when the vacancy happens, the Senate's got to not be in session. And this is now being relied on by the Trump administration, saying, see, we can do this. Here's what Scalia, John Roberts, Sam Alito, and Clarence Thomas said. George Washington and John Adams' attorneys general read the Constitution to restrict recess appointments to vacancies arising during the recess, and there is no evidence that any of the first four presidents consciously departed from that reading. The contrary reading was first defended by an executive official in 1823 and was vehemently rejected by the Senate in 1863, was vigorously resisted by legislation in place from 1863 until 1940, and is arguably inconsistent with legislation in place from 1940 to the present. The Solicitor General has identified only about 100 appointments that have ever been made under the broader reading, And while it seems likely that a good deal more have been made in the past few decades, there is good reason to doubt that many were made before 1940, since the appointees could not have been compensated. I can conceive of no sane constitutional theory under which this evidence of historic practice, which is actually evidence of a long-simmering interbranch conflict, would require us to defer to the views of the executive branch. The court's decision would transform the recess appointment power into a weapon presidents could use against the Senate. Those are the words of Antonin Scalia, who is dead. But he was joined by John Roberts, Sam Alito, and Clarence Thomas, who are still there, who are joined by Amy Coney Barrett, who was a Scalia protege, who is joined by Brett Kavanaugh, who worked for John Roberts, and by Ketanji Brown Jackson, who hasn't taken a position on this in the United States Supreme Court. And do you really believe that Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan are going to go along with Donald Trump putting Matt Gaetz in? The Matt Gaetz nomination is dead. The senators will not vote for it, and the Supreme Court will block it because the appointment is a appointment that exists before the Senate goes into recess. If Trump does this and puts Gaetz in that position, it will be rapidly escalated to the Supreme Court, and not only will it be made null and void, but any decision Gaetz makes will be rendered null and void as well. Trump can try this if he wants to try it, but I'm just saying you can have all these lawyers try to argue that, yeah, this is perfectly legal, he can do it, but that Scalia concurrence might not be binding Supreme Court precedent, but 3 members of the existing Supreme Court and Antonin Scalia's law clerk are there now. That's 4 votes. Add in Kagan, Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Forget the rest of them. I think it's pretty dead. Now, what might also be dead is your computer, and you may need a new one. You should go to Vision Computers because they can build you a brand new computer, save you some money, and give you a better computer than what you're going to get at the one-size-fits-all big box store. Why? Because your computer fits your needs. And the one-size-fits-all big box store computer is the focus group big box store computer that will give everybody mediocre performance but won't give you spectacular performance. Vision Computer can build you exactly what you want, and then you get their 5-star service where you get a special phone number. You can call them, and they'll fix your computer. They can even remote in. They can tell you how to do something. They can find a file you buried in your computer. All you got to do is call them at 404-COMPUTE. If you tell them Eric sent you, you're going to save some money. 404-COMPUTE. But now let's say you're a small business and you've got computers, or let's say you have a computer and you don't need a new computer, but my gosh, you got questions. You got printer problems, email problems, whatever. Well, Vision Computer can take care of you as well. For $179 a year, mention my name, you might get a discount. You call them at 404-COMPUTE. You say you want their tech support. You get their 5-star tech support faster than a Google search. You get the answer to whatever plagues you on your computer. All you got to do is call 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Again, you don't have to have a computer from Vision to get their 5-star service. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computers be the company that takes care of all your computer needs. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Delighted to have you with me, and they would be delighted to help your business. If you're looking to grow your business and you are tired of getting the runaround from your lender, First Liberty Building Loan has been making their own decisions since the 90s. The Frost family's still at it. It's them you're dealing with and their team, and they're good people. If your business is looking to grow, reach out to them. FirstLibertyGA.com. It doesn't matter whether you're in Kalispell, Montana, or Miami, Florida. They can help your business. FirstLibertyGA.com. Now, let's see here. Yes, I think I can squeeze in Bob here. You're going to be up next. Welcome.
Hi, Eric. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Fine. Eric, I was an employer a few years ago before I retired, and I had a small manufacturing company where I needed 6 employees. My church had a Hispanic ministry, so I went to the leader, and she had 6 workers come by, and they all filled out their employment forms. And at that time, with E-Verify, I actually got copies of their Social Security cards. Well, I filed all my quarterlies and annuals, and this was like in June. The next April, I get a letter saying none of those Social Security numbers were valid. And my thought was if Trump would get E-Verify to have some teeth in it, where you should be able to get back within 24 hours whether or not a Social Security number is valid or not, and then put some penalties with it if the employers continue to employ those people. I think that would be a good thing for removal from the country.
Yeah, it's the E-Verify stuff bothers me to a degree in that, one, I know plenty of people who say that they've had problems using the system, but also I think as an American, I should be able to hire whoever I want without having to get government permission. There's just the libertarian in me, but I understand why it exists. What I find notable, however, is a buddy of mine texted me, and he's not alone. I'm seeing these emails come through from people listening, many of whom are either farmers or know the farmers. And they all say the same thing, that they hire legal migrants on temporary programs who come in for harvest season and go home. They don't want to stay here. And I hear this from a lot of farmers. And I hear this from people who know farmers. And I'm getting emails and text messages from people right now who I know about this stuff. They say, we're not hiring illegals. We have inspectors who come in and make sure we're not. We have temporary programs with immigrants who come into the country for the harvest and then leave. But the left keeps telling us it's all these undocumented people. If you actually look at the numbers, it's not a lot. If you subscribe to my Substack, I push this breaking news out with this graph from CNN. 296,300 people in farming. That's not a whole lot of people in the grand scheme of things. 296,300 illegal aliens. That's really not a lot of people. It's not. So I think we can make do without those 296,300 people and then put them into a legal temporary program to come into the country. All right. When we come back, I want to talk about Trump's cabinet picks because, you get distracted by Gabbard or Kennedy or Gates and the problems. But, overwhelmingly, we've got some incredibly competent picks, including Sean Duffy, who was named last night, and now Harold Ludnick, who will be in charge of commerce.